Hello and welcome to another No Stress Distress Inks. This is lesson number 8, and today we'll be working with water for the first time. So, what I'm going to do is kind of show you the two projects that we're going to be working on, and we're going to do a step for the first one first and finish it up last. Trust me, you'll follow me. It just starts out a little bit complicated. So, what we're going to do, I have a regular size piece of paper cut out to the typical 3 3/4 by 5 inches to go on the front of the card. That's what I've been doing for every piece of cardstock in this series. And that will be our blending piece. And then I also have a piece of 4.25 by 4.25 watercolor paper. And I'm just using this watercolor paper from Canson. You can buy this at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, any art store really. I also like to get mine at Blick Art Crafts, which you can also order from online. So anywhere is fine, and I just like ones that are smooth. That way when I emboss on them, they don't grab too much of the powder that's not supposed to be there. So I'm first going to emboss this image. I'm going to emboss this flower onto this piece of watercolor paper. And bring out my pad here, place it on top, and stamp down firmly. It doesn't need to be perfectly centered because I will be cutting this out, I believe. Okay, that seemed to work. And I probably have a little ink on there from the last time I used the stamp, but that's not a big deal because we're embossing it in silver. And I'm just using my Gladware container with my embossing powder in it. Okay. And it looks like I got everywhere covered, and maybe covered a little bit too much. So I just use a paintbrush with a really fine head. You can see it's very little. And I go back in here, loosen up that powder that you don't want to be there, and then just blow on it and it will go away. You might have to do it a couple times, but it will go away. So I'm going to take care of this area and clean it up a little. Okay, as you can see here, I've cleaned off the piece pretty well. There's still a couple stray pieces, but that's okay. It's kind of one of the things that you get when you have watercolor paper. The embossing powder just kind of likes to stick onto the fibers a little bit more. But that's okay. We're just going to go ahead and emboss it as is. And I have this wonderful image, and it's cool to the touch. So now I can go ahead and add my ink. And I'm just using two colors, Barn Door and Wild Honey, and I want to ink it up really, really well. So I'm going in, I'm just dabbing it down, and we're going to use water over this so it will blend together. So don't be afraid to go a little crazy. It's not about staying in the lines, it's not about keeping the sides of your foam from showing up, it's just about getting color on there. You can even go in straight with the ink pad and really add some color in there. And then we can go in with the honey, the wild honey, and we're just going to go straight down to the paper. And that's what this technique is all about. It's messy. It doesn't look that pretty right now, but I promise the water will work magic on it. So I have the Barn Door and the Wild Honey. I can actually put those to the side now. And now is just to watch the magic happen. I just have a spritzer bottle. You can use a mini mister like I have here, but it just doesn't hold enough water for me. So I use one of these that holds 2 ounces. And then you just spray it, and spray it well until there's definitely a pool of ink on the surface. So you see that? Things are starting to blend together. Every area kind of has a little pool. So I'm just going to set this off to the side to dry while we start working on the other technique, and it'll work its magic. So my next technique is going to involve water, but in a different way. And this one, the one before, uses water to make it pretty. This is kind of using water to, in a way, destroy it and distress it. You'll see, it's really, really fun. So what I'm going to do is blend actually from red to purple. I don't know why, but I just felt like doing that today. And I'm just going to do across the diagonal. So I'm going to have red in this corner. That was barn door. And then I have some worn lipstick, spun sugar, Victorian velvet, milled lavender, and dusty concord. And I'm just going to speed this all up so you can watch me blend it together. You should be blending masters by now. And now I'm just going to go back with the worn lipstick and go straight over the entire thing, just to really bring up that color. And then I'm going to go back in with a Victorian velvet and really emphasize that purple again. And this is Dusty Concord. Give it a little bit more purple in the corner. And then just a little bit more barn door to really show the contrast between this corner and this corner. There we go. So we have our lovely background, and what we're going to do next is, in order to create the effect that we're going for, we're going to spray water on your fingers until your fingers are dripping wet, and then flick it. And I know Jill Foster uses this technique a lot, and she's a master at it. So I'm really inspired by her to do this technique a lot. So I'm just going to spritz my fingers just a couple times, 5 or 6, and then flick. And you can see it's starting to react with the ink and move it around. So just keep spraying your fingers and flicking until it looks how you want it. And the effect, you can see it right away, but it is gradual. And I just want to really emphasize this effect. So I'm doing it a lot, but you don't need to do quite as much as this. It's whatever is to your taste, really. So there's our beautiful watercolor effect. And I just love this look. Like, even though our coloring didn't look that pretty before, after you add the splotchiness, it just looks lovely. I love it. So you can do this with any colors you want. You could do it with one color. It's great when you just want to ink up an entire piece with just using the ink pad. Just go over it and then spritz it, and it creates this wonderful effect that looks like it's taking you a really long time. So we have this, and this is all ready to put on our card. And then we just have this, which is still drying. So I'll be back in a minute when it's all dry. Alright, so I've let this dry. It's still a little damp, and there were these really harsh lines, so I just spritzed it again just slightly so that it could just mingle a little bit more. But I really like this whole watercolor look that it has going on. It's really cool. And you can see, I mean, we started out with something very rough, and it's created itself into something really cool. So I'm just going to cut around this, and then I can adhere it to my card. So here are the two pieces that I've created with these water techniques. All I did was do regular distress inking and just made sure to put a lot of ink on there and then use the water to make the inks react and move around. So thank you very much for watching. If you have any comments, please feel free to leave them below, either on my blog or on YouTube. And I definitely look forward to the next lesson, which will be about water, but some more advanced techniques with it. So here is the finished card. And here is the close-up. And here's the flower finished card. And here's the close-up with that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you again next time.